All right, let's go and get started. First of all, hello and welcome to today's webinar, What's New in HOMER Pro version 3.9. We are so glad that you could join us today for our webinar. Before we do introductions, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. We do have the chat function enabled. Please do submit your questions there. We will have time at the end to answer questions, but likely won't be able to get to every question during the live session. We do promise to follow up with you with any questions we can't get to. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be made available afterwards. My name is Jordan Esvin. I'm VP of Product Management here at HOMER Energy, and I'll be serving as today's moderator for the webinar. I am joined by my colleague, Steffi Clowder. She is HOMER Energy's Component Library Manager. Let's go over today's agenda. We'll start with a little bit of information about HOMER Energy. Then we'll go through an overview of HOMER Pro. And then Steffi will lead us through in a demo highlighting some of the exciting new features within HOMER Pro. Within that demo, we'll go from start to finish, designing a microgrid, and highlight some of the really valuable features along the way. At the end, we'll save plenty of time for questions and answers. I would like to sincerely thank our partners for their support. We wouldn't be here today without them. Being a partner of HOMER Energy is a great way to promote your company or your solution throughout the HOMER community via social media and events such as our annual conference. With that, I do want to invite you to our 5th annual HOMER International Microgrid Conference. This year, it's taking place from September 18th through the 20th. In beautiful Denver, Colorado. The first few days of the conference will include some exciting speakers, case studies, and networking opportunities. On the 3rd day, you can take part in an optional HOMER Pro training and learn everything you need to know about HOMER Pro. Whether you're an industry expert or just getting started, this is a great way to network and learn from industry experts around the world. If you register before the end of July, you can save $200, and we hope to see you there. A little bit about HOMER Energy. We were created at NREL over 20 years ago, and we became an independent company in 2009. With so many years of experience consulting and deploying microgrid software solutions, we truly have become the trusted global standard for microgrid economic design and analysis. The map to the right is a sampling of projects that our users have created across the globe. I think that's really impressive. Let's talk a little bit about our flagship product, HOMER Pro. Before we do that, let's talk about the word HOMER itself. It's actually an acronym. It stands for Hybrid Optimization of Multiple Energy Resources. And HOMER Pro is our client-side application that simplifies the complex process of designing lowest cost microgrid and distributed energy systems. One thing that we're really proud of with HOMER Pro is that we've remained an agnostic platform, providing accurate and unbiased results. We work with so many component manufacturers, and we work really hard to represent the performance of their components accurately. Let's talk a little bit about how HOMER Pro actually works. First, we'll talk about the challenge of designing a microgrid. The idea is when you're designing a microgrid, there are tons of new technologies with very different characteristics that you could add. None of these can do it all, or really a silver bullet. So the question is, which technology serves my application best? The short answer is that it depends. It depends on locally available resources. It depends on local costs. And frequently, the best solution is a hybrid or combination of different technologies. HOMER Pro analyzes any place in the world and helps anyone understand the least cost solution when combining multiple energy and storage technologies. The workflow within HOMER Pro is 3 steps. We start with project inputs, where we add our energy use data, otherwise known as load data. We then pick our exact location, and we download site-specific resource data, such as wind, solar, and temperature. Lastly, we choose our system components. Now, we have a library of over 300 components that we're updating on a daily basis. And from that, you can choose things like your PV choices, your wind turbine, storage, controllers, or things like even connecting to the grid. You fill in all those things that are available to you as part of your project inputs. We then jump into analysis. This is really where the magic happens with HOMER, and this is the heart of the HOMER model. There's 3 different layers of HOMER Pro analysis. It starts with simulation. With simulation, if you have a current setup with maybe a generator or you're connected to the grid, we want to see how a system would perform if you were to add solar to this, or if you added solar plus storage, or solar plus storage plus wind. We want to simulate hour by hour through each time step, or you can actually choose a different time step if you'd like, with real world conditions, switching how we use energy from each energy source, whether that be the wind or solar or grid. And we have a controller that would maybe charge your battery from the grid or generator. This switching is known as dispatch, and this is how we step through our simulation. When that happens, sometimes if a few hundred simulations are run with HOMER, but many times this is in the thousands or hundreds of thousands as it steps through these time steps. These simulations happen very quickly in HOMER Pro, and we've actually made that quicker with our latest release. These simulation results are then used within our next step, our optimization. The optimization sounds fancy, and it does something really cool. It finds the least cost solution with each configuration, and then delivers the optimal specific sizing for each configuration. Our third and final step within analysis is sensitivity. With sensitivity analysis, we answer the question, what if? Mostly around cost sensitivities. So if our price of fuel were to double in the next year or two, how does that affect my final results? What if wind speeds change? What if the varying prices of components, what if the price of my PV panel were to go up or go down? We want to know how these changes would result in changes in our final model, in our choices in how we design our microgrid. That's what sensitivity analysis answers for us. The third main part of the workflow are our results. We are the only microgrid design software out there that delivers through the same workflow, engineering, and economic results. We deliver system sizing. So how many solar panels would you want in your array? How should you size your battery, and what is optimal? We also deliver performance results. So with any resulting system, what was the production of my PV array over a year's time? How did the dispatch perform? When did my energy use switch from using battery power to solar? And when did I switch from using a generator to using battery power? We also give things like renewables and emissions metrics. Our third piece is our financials. This is very important. We give you the lowest cost, we give you the levelized cost of energy, the net present value, internal rate of return, and you can compare all these financial metrics against the simulated results of remaining on your current technology, or you can compare 2 options together that you're thinking about going to. All these results are wrapped up in our various reports. We have both out-of-the-box reports that come standard with HOMER Pro, or we have ones that you can configure and make from scratch. And really, Steffi's going to walk through some of those reports as once we get into the demo. The last thing I want to cover before we jump into the demo is some highlights from our latest release. The first one is flexible and configurable reporting. With this, it allows you to create reports that meet your exact needs. You can even customize reports with your company logo to really easily get that into something like a proposal or within your business workflow. Our second piece that we're really proud of is our independent component library. This ensures access to the most up-to-date catalog of microgrid components, allowing you to choose exact components you need and to be confident in the accuracy of those components. Third is faster and more efficient performance. So HOMER Pro is now 30% faster. We've done this by leveraging the latest in AMD and Intel chip technologies. Finally, we've improved our search options and added context-sensitive help. This allows you to find answers in HOMER's online knowledge base, an online manual with improved search options. You can now get immediate assistance and information directly within the HOMER Pro workflow with context-sensitive help. With that, I'm going to hand this over to Steffi. She's going to walk through creating a microgrid from start to finish.
Thank you, Jordan, for the introduction. I've been with HOMER for energy management in Germany at the University of Freiburg. During that time, I did an internship in Mongolia, where I worked on a solar thermal system, and that showed me the importance of reducing pollution and the significance of developing distributed energy resources, which led me to work at HOMER. And at HOMER, as Jordan mentioned, I worked to build out our library of components with which you can model your system, as well as doing some consulting work and being a part of the product management team under Jordan. And today, what we're going to do is build a microgrid from start to finish within the HOMER Pro software, paying special attention to our help features, which are new, and the reporting at the end, which is also new. And just so that we're all on the same page, a microgrid is a network of electricity users which are connected to a local supply of electricity. And this microgrid can be connected to the larger centralized grid, or it can function separately and independently on its own in island mode. And this has many different applications. Islands are an obvious application of a microgrid, but just energy access market, which means that you're too far away from the traditional grid, or an unreliable grid, or to protect your data center, for example, against any kind of blackouts, and that's the resiliency market. So HOMER Pro can help you navigate each of these different conditions for your specific situation. So as we design, I'll pay special attention to the help function, which is the search bar up here, among other things, and then we'll talk about the reporting. And if I could set the scene for today's project, we're going to be designing a system in Australia, and specifically Alice Springs. And on this homepage, you can enter the name of the project. We're going to be designing an outlying neighborhood in Alice Springs. And this is, say, a neighborhood of 20 to 30 houses with maybe a convenience store or a small business. And they are far enough away from Alice Springs that they're worried about not having power in their community. And you can add your name or your company's name here, and then any kind of notes on the system that you're designing or things that you want to appear in the report later. These are some quick financial parameters that you can adjust: the discount rate, the inflation rate, and then the annual capacity shortage. And if any of these terms don't make sense, you can obviously just go here and type in capacity shortage, and it'll come up with the help file, which will further explain just what capacity shortage means and all of our different resources that can help you understand what capacity shortage means. Here, our project lifetime will switch to 15 years. And since we're in Australia, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything in Australian dollars, so we'll go to economics and change that right away into Australian dollars. Oh, one thing I forgot to do is to download the resources, which is very easy within HOMER Pro. You choose, go to resources here, and then download the solar, the temperature, and the wind. Now we'll move on to defining how much electricity we want and when we want it. And that's what we call a load or a load profile. And what we have here are options, whether we know exactly how much electricity this community consumes and when it consumes it. We can import that information here, but today we'll just use a standard profile, our community profile, and we will scale that because we know how much energy our community consumes per day. So here in our schematic, we see that we've added the electric load, number one, with 810 kilowatt hours per day, and that gives a 100 kilowatt peak. We won't define any thermal loads today or deferrable loads, but HOMER has the ability to specify those. And a deferrable load is a load that needs to be served, but it's not important when that electricity is produced. So now that we know how much electricity we want, we can think about where are we going to get the electricity. And the neighborhood as we have it now is grid connected, and we're thinking about adding maybe a generator, PV, storage, and we're going to see what is most economical. So starting with the generator, we'll choose our Danvers generator. And here you can see that pricing information is given. If you want to contact Danvest for a more exact quote or pricing information, then their contact information is here. And often the most interesting thing with the generator is how much the fuel costs. And we don't know, say that you don't know exactly whether that fuel is going to be $1 per liter or $1.50 per liter. So you can do a sensitivity analysis, which Jordan mentioned before, and that allows you to define two different options for what that diesel fuel price could be. And moving on to our renewables, we can add PV. We'll add the Canadian Solar Diamond module. And here you can see that pricing information is not included. Of course, you can contact our partners here, or if you have a rough estimate for how much total installed PV will cost in your area, then you can just enter that in. And since we have really no idea how large we want our PV system to be, we can use the HOMER optimizer, and that makes things really easy, really smooth, especially for first-time analysis. We could add wind to our system if we wanted to compare what was better between solar or wind, but today we'll just stick to solar. And of course, solar is often very compatible with batteries, so we'll see if batteries are economical in this system. We'll add our SAF battery, which has pricing information, and we'll do our optimizer again for the battery sizing. Now we have a warning here that's coming up asking us to add the system converter. And if you're someone who doesn't know exactly why a converter is necessary in a system, feel free to type in converter and you'll get many different resources that you can read about as far as what a converter does. But right now we'll just add it. We'll add the Leonix 25 and do the optimizer as well. Now the last thing that we'll need to define is how it is now, which is grid connected. So we'll add in the grid. And we've got several different options here with simple rates, real-time rates, scheduled rates, and grid extension. And if you don't know what those are, you can toggle between those. And you'll see this context-sensitive help button here, and that will take you even more directly into the help file that you're looking for. So whenever you see a little information button like that, you can click on that and learn more about that within the help file. But since I know that we have a grid, or with our potential additional investments, we can calculate using our faster processors and our 64-bit, which is now our default download, the simulation is about 2 to 3 times faster than it was previously. So we hope that you can take full advantage of that technology. And now we're looking at our results. Above here, we have our sensitivity cases. So if you remember that we defined 2 different diesel fuel prices, and that's what these are. And by clicking on one or clicking on the other, you can see how the numbers for your various results changed. And we're going to see more specifically what happens with $1 per liter diesel fuel price. Then our recommended system is solar, or maybe solar and battery, or solar and generator. So these are the categorized results. And you can choose, you can see all the important information here with respect to cost of electricity or cost of energy and net present cost. And if any of these don't make sense, you can click on the context sensitive help and it'll take you to what you need to know. Or you can type in, if something doesn't have a context sensitive help, feel free to type it into the search bar. And then it'll get, the search bar queries 3 different sources within HOMER. All of our help file is one source, and that's ends with HTML, homerenergy.com, as well as our knowledge base, which starts with user support. And these articles are, the knowledge base is previous support questions that our support team have found particularly relevant for other users as well. So the knowledge base are a list of old and particularly great questions. As well, we query the community forum where our users answer other users' questions. And of course, I mentioned the help file, which is now all online. And if those 3 sources don't answer your questions, feel free to reach out to our support. We offer premium support if you have specific questions about your modeling, or if you are interested in training, that might be a resource as well. So looking further into the results, we can choose, say that we're willing to give up a little bit of cost, but we know that the value of battery out is something that's more valuable than the cost there. So we can look more deeply into the results for this configuration. You can see the cost summary and the cash flow, and you can make a time series plot, which will show over the year how much electricity is produced by which component, and you can make that completely customizable. And obviously there's so much here we can't go into it fully, but we'll jump right into the reporting because that is the most, that's a key feature that's new about 3.9. And here's how you customize it. We have 4 different options for our format, and I'll choose a docx because that's, I'll continue editing after I'm done here. As well as I can add my custom logo. Let's add a little sunshine moon. And these are, on the right are the sections that are by default in the report. And you can move these around. And if it's bold, it means that you can double click and further customize that particular section. So for our purposes today, I'm going to imagine that I have this system and I am either presenting to maybe a financial arm that could help me develop this project, or maybe a bank to get a loan, or to a potential customer that I'm trying to show the value of this project to. So we'll leave in our title section and our system architecture section, which will show how the setup is, as well as the cash flow and cost summary section. Those are both important for any kind of transactions. People that care about money will want to know that. Electrical summary, we don't care about as much. Our generator, we didn't happen to choose a system with a generator, so we'll skip that. PV is likely our largest cost, so we'll want to talk about that. Storage we'll skip, converter we'll skip. Grid we won't talk about, and emissions may not interest our financial arm, and the renewables we'll skip today too. But I would encourage you to look through these. They each will be important for different people that you're trying to communicate with. But we'll add in a extra time series chart too. That way we can show our plotting function from the results section. So to customize the PV section, we'll double click on it and say, I want to show maybe a cloudy day. So here's clearly where some clouds are coming in, and I'm going to include this in the report. Great. And then I want to show the load is there, the output of the solar is what I want to show, as well as maybe the output of the battery. And then we'll zoom into the same cloudy day section here. And there we can see, we'll zoom in a bit more, we can see what the battery is doing and what the solar is doing. So here blue is our electricity demand, and primarily our community is coming home and doing things with their families in the evening. So our load peaks in the evening, which doesn't exactly coincide with our solar, which is producing during the day, of course. So our battery tries to serve the load as it changes over from daytime to evening time, and we'll include that in the report. And given that, we'll say either save or open. I'll open it so that it goes more quickly, and then we can scroll through just how that looks. Our title page, make it a bit bigger. Our title page is here. It says the name that you defined of your company or yourself, the location, and then high-level cost information, the notes that you defined from the home landing page, and then your sensitivities. We have the system architecture with the type of component, the specific module, and then the size of it, as well as what you could see within HOMER Pro, the schematic. We've got cost summary information and tables, and since this is in Word, this can be fully customizable to suit your needs even better. Here's the cash flow by expense type and by component type, depending on what is important to you. And here's our PV focus. So we have some overview about how much it's producing maximum and minimum. Of course, at night, it's not producing anything. That's why there's a 0 here. And this colorful picture here is very useful, I find. It's a year from January to December for hours of the day. So here it's clear that PV is producing during the day. And we can zoom in to what we had defined before, an example of a cloudy section, and to the chart that we had also defined before. So that is a quick overview about all the things that the report can do for you. And I would recommend that you play around with all these other functions here, because there's much more that we haven't had time to discuss. So with that, we've learned to use the search bar, to use the context-sensitive help, and we've walked through a brief introduction of the reporting. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jordan, who's going to lead our question and answer session. So just feel free to use the chat box if you have any questions. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thanks so much, Steffi. I hope that that helped you all see the power of Homer Pro v3.9. We definitely recommend that you go out and grab the latest version from our website. Give it a try. We do have a free trial that allows you to try it out if you haven't purchased a license. But there are some really exciting things within Homer Pro that really set us apart from anything else you could do out in the market. To summarize what we just went over with Steffi, we did walk through each of the 3 steps of this process. We went through the project inputs. She added a load profile, so what is our energy use? We downloaded our site-specific resources for Alice Springs, Australia. We added our components. One of the things that Steffi added there was a connection to the grid, including our grid rates. That was really cool. We then ran through the Homer Pro algorithms, simulation, optimization, sensitivity, and then we did spend a good amount of time on the results. And the best way to get those out of Homer Pro is obviously using the reports, both out of the box or configurable reports. Before we jump into our question and answer session, I do want to remind you to submit those via the chat function. We'll make sure to get back to you on those either through the live session or afterwards. But if you really want to get the most value out of Homer Pro, I strongly recommend that you take one of our online or in-person trainings. To get started, we offer a 3-hour online Introduction to Homer course or a 6-hour in-person or online Foundations to Homer course. Both courses are led by a live instructor. We also have Homer Advanced courses. These build off of the material within the Foundations course, and that is a prerequisite for the advanced courses. The advanced courses deal with subjects such as advanced wind and solar, high renewable penetration systems, and advanced grid. If you want to learn more about our Homer Pro trainings, please do visit our website. I also want to invite you to our next webinar. That is going to be taking place Tuesday, July 18th this year. And we don't have a time yet for that, but if you're part of this webinar, we'll make sure to get an invite out to you, and we would love to see you there. Within that webinar, we're going to cover Homer Quick Start. Quick Start is Homer's newest solution and is a quick and easy web application to help you better understand the powerful Homer model used in our flagship software and otherwise, Homer Pro. This is the global standard in microgrid design. With Homer Quick Start, you can design a simple but comprehensive microgrid in a matter of minutes. We will have multiple sessions for the webinar on July 18th to accommodate our listeners in different time zones. With that, let's go ahead and get started with our questions and answer session. I am joined by one of my colleagues, Alec Bamba. He is our sales and support engineer. He's going to be fielding a few of the questions in just a few minutes. So if you haven't gotten your questions in, please do get those in, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, it looks like our first question is, how do we compare the new microgrid to our existing system? And this is a great question. In the top right of Homer Pro, when you get to the results page, we have a button called Compare Economics. By clicking this button, it takes you into a dialog screen where you can select your base case and fill that in. So your base case is, what is your current situation, or where are you at today? Then you can report on your 2 different options, so your current state versus where you want to go. And you can get useful details like payback, return on investment, and you can compare these together. You can also use base case to compare 2 different options that you want to go to, and you can see that comparative analysis within the Compare Economics screen. So that was a great question. Next question is, if I'm a Homer Pro user today, how do I get the latest version of Homer Pro? Another great question. This is an easy one. You can go to users.homerenergy.com and download the latest version there. You will have to sign in with your current account if you have a license, or purchase a license directly from that site. We make that process really easy and painless. Next question is, can I Google the help file? The answer is yes and no. What we've done is we have used the Google algorithm to allow you to Google all the content within the HOMER kind of data universe. And it allows you to find anything within our 3 sources that Steffi talked about. But it will keep you in the HOMER universe. It won't be Googling for HOMER help outside of HOMER. So that was a good question. Next question, if I use help, so I think this is probably talking about content sensitive help. Maybe it's the search. Do I lose my spot within my workflow within HOMER, and can I come back to it? This is a good question. So with either of those, it's going to take you to a browser tab within your default browser that you've set, and you lose nothing within HOMER Pro. You can just come back to HOMER Pro and pick up where you left off. So 2 more questions, and then I'll hand it over to Alec. The next one was, can I get a video of the webinar? I did want to repeat this. We will send out a webinar link, at least after this, that we have recorded from this live session. Next question is, what is HOMER Pro written in? This is a great question. And HOMER Pro is written in C++, and it sits on a .NET 4.6 backend. And yeah, we do use the latest technology and keep up with, with whatever stable technology is out there for us to use. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Alec, and he's going to take some of our more technical user workflow questions.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alec Bamba, and I'll be helping with some of the questions that we've received throughout the webinar. Starting with, is it possible to include incentives, tax credits, auxiliary benefits as an input? So the short answer on that is not directly. The first, we don't have a specific area where we enter tax incentives, but there's other methodologies in which can be entered into the model and be taken into account. That could be through considering those incentives on the capital costs of the system, or even entering negative fixed capital cost for the whole system as well. So next question is, how do you handle PV power degradation and storage capacity degradation over the life of the project? There are a few ways in which we do this. Specifically for PV power degradation, we have a specific module called the multi-year, in which you can enter PV degradation into the system that will take that into account. For the storage capacity degradation, we have also another module, which is the advanced storage module, in which you can enter very advanced parameters for the battery that take into account shelf life, take into account temperature effects, so how temperatures can affect the degradation of the battery, either from day to day to also long term for the battery as well. Another question that we have here is, let's see, would you lose your projects when you upgrade to version 3.9? And the answer to that is no. You won't lose your projects. You can open your HOMER files from previous versions in 3.9. The only exception to this is if you're using one of our legacy products like HOMER 2 or HOMER Legacy. Those are you'll have to migrate them first using the previous version, and then save. You can run them in 3.9 as well. Then let's see. Another question here. You have an option for the optimizer to see each DER. Does this mean the sizing takes place separately for each DER? And if you choose PV plus a battery, for instance, does it optimize for total supply versus total load? So basically, HOMER takes into consideration a lot of different parameters of the system. So for example, if you have photovoltaics and storage added to that, it will consider the system with or without the batteries, depending on what the least cost system solution would be. It will size accordingly. For example, if you have batteries and PV, it will take into account the charge-discharge cycles of the battery and the costs associated with that. So it will take into account how much the PV is putting power into the battery and how much it's, again, discharging it, and therefore optimizing, well, it's recommended to have this amount of batteries based on that. It will do similar with wind, and also the custom component can also use the optimizer as well. And also you'll be able to, HOMER will determine what's the best combination of all the technologies together. And that might mean to have batteries or not, depending on the costs, etc., and the operational parameters of the battery as well. Another question has to do with language. HOMER Pro, it's currently only available in English, and we do have an older version that's in Spanish. We do offer support in Spanish and Portuguese as well, so we'll be happy to help you in either of these three languages. We can do also consulting projects and help you in detail on what types of on your projects, basically on looking at what's going on with your file, or looking in detail how to model your microgrid. And then let's see if we have any other questions here that we have time for. So I did see another question in terms of the time steps of HOMER Pro simulation. So first is that HOMER can model down to 1 minute time steps. It can be 1 minute to 1 hour, so 15 minutes, 30 minutes, etc. You can enter the data that you import into the system. It can be in, for example, 1 hour time steps, and you still model 1 minute time steps. And HOMER will basically do aggregated data for the load that you imported as 1 hour time steps. So it will fill in the blanks that's needed to be able to run the model on that. And another question is, can HOMER be installed on a Mac? The answer is yes, but you'll need to have a Windows emulator. So you would still need, for example, Parallels. You can install Windows within the Mac OS and then run HOMER Pro within that. And there's a few other options in terms of what types of Windows emulators you can have within that. Let's see. We have time for one more question. And the last one that we're going to be covering today is, are the library of all components updated every time? So with every update that we have of HOMER Pro, we try to increase our component library. And we try to get accurate data from the manufacturers to make sure that it reflects current market data on that. The other option, if it's not in our library, you can always enter your own model and your own component within the system. We would be happy to show you that. There's a knowledge base article on how to do that if you want to go to all help section of our website. And I highly encourage everybody to take our introductory training that we'll be going over in more detail and covering a lot of all these questions that we have. I encourage to also take a look at our premium support options. And I really hope that everybody has a wonderful day. And thank you for joining us today. And I'll hand it over to Jordan for a conclusion.
Great. Thanks so much, Alf. I really appreciate you filling those questions. We will make sure to follow up with all of you if we haven't already with any questions that we didn't get to. Just a reminder, 5th annual HOMER Microgrid Conference. We would love to see you all there. September 18th through the 20th in beautiful Denver, Colorado. The weather's really nice here. We'd love for you to join us. This is a great opportunity to network and learn from industry experts around the world. This is our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us at support@homerenergy.com. We're happy to answer any questions you have or help you out with anything you might need help with. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on July 18th for our next webinar. And I really appreciate some of you are staying up very late at night and attending our webinar. Really appreciate you staying up and joining us today. Thanks so much, and hope you have a great rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Thank you.